I'd like to introduce our speakers this evening. We have Carla McElnay-Shaw, who has been at Lewis High School for 18 years, 16 years as a college and career center specialist, and 2 years as an instructional assistant in the special education department. She enjoys creating resin projects with her husband and their yearly trips to Disney World. And then also with us this evening is Tisa Frederick. She has served as a college and career specialist at West Springfield High School for 7 years. Prior to coming to FCPS, she worked 11 years in higher education, specifically admissions. She's an avid couponer and even has her own YouTube channel. When the world opens back up, she plans to continue her love of travel. So I would love for everyone to please welcome Tisa and Carla. So thank you all for coming.
Good evening. I know I'm thrilled to be here. We are very excited overall to present what we possibly can to the families this evening. Tisa and I both are the college and career specialists at individual schools. And this is the assistance provided by the College and Career Center. And like post-secondary planning, financial aid. We also have military and jobs and gap year. And we will be presenting on each of those as well. And hopefully we'll be able to answer any of your questions either in the chat or later on. We did end up getting some questions from you all prior. So hopefully we will be able to cover that as well. I'll present this one here as well. Post-secondary planning, four-year college or university, a two-year college or university, trade and technical school apprenticeship, armed services and working, and gap year as well. Colleges and universities. So we have trade and technical schools, which is the Center for Employment Training. Train students for a specific job and a skilled trained career, offer hands-on training. That's a huge one right there. And examples would be baking and cosmetology. Four-year colleges are like Virginia Tech, UVA, Mason, and George Mason University, James Madison, excuse me. Typically require, of course, your transcripts, test scores, which are SAT, ACT, and letters of recommendation. Offers bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degree. And then we come to the two-year college, Nova, Richard Bland, which is actually in Virginia, and it's our only two-year junior college, and it's located just past Richmond. And Potomac State, it's actually West Virginia University Potomac State College. It is a two-year college as well. Both of these two-year colleges actually have dorms. They run a little differently than the community college. They do require usually an SAT and ACT, and Potomac State is actually, I call it like the child school of West Virginia University. It being a two-year junior college, it does actually offer 6 bachelor's degrees at that two-year college. So that's quite unusual for a school like that, and it's not very far away. We have taken students actually on a trip there in the past before COVID. So a two-year college, as you see, most do not require test scores, but I'm going to say Potomac State and Richard Bland usually do. They offer associate's degree certificates, and some offer bachelor programs. They're great feeder options into a larger institution, and we can talk a little bit more about that if you wish in regards to about the guaranteed admissions. Okay, Tisa, you're up.
I'm going to talk a little bit about apprenticeships. So apprenticeships is an industry-driven, high-quality career path where employees can develop and prepare their future workforce, and individuals can obtain paid work experience, classroom instructions, and a portable, nationally recognized credential. So with our academy courses that we offer through Fairfax County Public Schools, students can actually work towards potentially earning some of their credit towards their apprenticeships. Typically, apprenticeships cannot be obtained until after a student has graduated. There are some apprenticeships that require a significant number of hours to complete. I want to say it's around 8,000 hours, which can be equivalent to up to like 3 years of basically on the job training, hand in hand training that someone will have. So if students are interested in a professional career, say like plumbing or becoming an electrician, things of that nature, that's what you consider an apprenticeship. So it's a great opportunity for students who are not looking to go for that traditional 4-year college experience. Now, there is of course, certification and classes that students have to take in order to be certified. So there is an education component to becoming an apprentice. And some of those, a good number of those can actually be obtained through the ACE program, which is offered through Fairfax County. It is the different opportunities that students can take, and the schools throughout the county actually have information sessions with the ACE program. I know we just had one in conjunction with South County High School and a couple other high schools that are in my specific region, where we talked about the different opportunities that's available to students through ACE. So a good resource for you guys we put in the slide, and again, this will be shared out. So you can just click on that apprenticeship website there, and it'll take you to some great information about apprenticeship.
Oh, the fun part, money, funding your post-secondary plans, financial aid. Now that helps pay for college. As you know, there are scholarships. Scholarships can be on need-based, and that's, financial. Merit-based, usually based on your grades. Service-based as well. What service opportunities have your students done? There are many scholarships out there for students who have done volunteering, and of course athletic scholarships as well. There are grants as well, and that comes from when you and your family fill out something called FAFSA, which we will be able to get into a little bit. Scholarships, of course, are, is free money as well as our grants. And then, of course, my favorite, well, it's a 5-letter word here, but my favorite 4-letter word is loan. So there are federal versus private, and we have given a link there. Make sure, if anything, that when you're dealing with any type of federal or private, I like to make sure that it has the .gov at the end of it, just to make sure that you understand and it is a viable website. Loans come in fixed rate as well. And then, of course, a lot of students, when they see their financial aid packages, they see something called direct subsidized, and that is a do not accrue interest while you are in school. The federal government is picking that up. We like to see that on students' financial aid packages. And then, of course, there are the direct unsubsidized interest subsidized loans, and interest starts while you're attending school. So we also advise students, if anything, because colleges do allow you to accept or decline whatever they have offered you in your financial aid package. And if you decided that you have won a scholarship, let's say for $2,000, and you were offered an unsubsidized loan in your package of $2,000, you can actually decline that loan because you know you have a scholarship to cover that $2,000. And then, of course, there are private loans as well. and there's no fixed rate on that. So the .gov website allows you to explore a little bit in regards to what those interest rates are. And Tisa did put into the chat a couple scholarship websites, which are, I know Fastweb is national. These are great sites. Why can't you take both? You can take both. That's up to you and your family. One is subsidized and one is unsubsidized. But yes, a student can pick and choose. If the college has offered you a subsidized or an unsubsidized loan, yes, you can go ahead and take both of them. I was just giving an example. If you happen to win a scholarship, you can go ahead and take away something from your package. The whole idea is to come out of school, we hope, with less loans than you're anticipating. And can you put the loan website in chat? Yes, we can do that. Is there a max that can only be borrowed a year? Yes, the federal government does that. There's only, the schools will go ahead and give you what they possibly can. I can tell you, schools, when you are applying for FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, each school, state aid goes quickly. So that's why we always tell students to go ahead and apply early, doing their FAFSA and sending it into the college. Institutional money and state money go quickly. The federal money will be there for you. So keep that in mind as well. So you cannot fill out FAFSA. If I have, if the audience has students who are in 9th through 11th right now, you cannot fill out the FAFSA. That FAFSA is filled out in your senior year. So that's when you fill out FAFSA, and it comes live on October 1st. Every year while the student is in college, they will have to fill out a FAFSA. So their package is basically broken down into what is shown on this slide. Who's responsible for paying the loan, the parent or the student? Excellent question. Those subsidized and those loans are in your student's name, not yours. So, so that's the one thing. There is something called a Parent Plus loan that would be in your name, but these loans are in your student's name. Is there any point in submitting the FAFSA if your expected credit phase is 100%? I would say yes, because some scholarships and stuff require you. I see Tisa says yes, so yes, still submit. You just never know. We always tell students, I look at FAFSA, and I'm sure Tisa does too, because I remember one of our former colleagues who's retired, she always said she looked at FAFSA as an insurance policy. Things can happen in families, like now. Who would ever have predicted this? And if your student has to go to the financial aid office on their campus, the first thing that financial aid is asking them, is there a FAFSA on you? And if they say no, the student, then they're going to say, we can't help you. So here you are under stress because of maybe you've lost a loved one, the breadwinner in their family has gotten laid off, all sorts of things can happen. But financial aid in the college will not be able to help you without that information. So we always say, yes, go ahead, and I would do it, all right, because things do change in family situations. Anything that you want to add, Tisa?
Yes, Carla. I was going to address a couple of the questions that we received ahead of time. One specifically talked about scholarship information in Virginia colleges. So there is a specific opportunity for students who are in the state of Virginia and plan to go to a private school in the state of Virginia called the VTAG. It's the Virginia Tuition Assistance Grant. So it's provided annually to Virginia residents who are full-time students at an eligible private college or university that the opportunity for it does vary from year to year. So this past year in 2020, 2021, there are approximately 23,000 Virginia residents that received a non-base tuition grant, which is about $3,500 for their undergraduate studies, and about $1,760 for those who were pursuing their graduate studies. So that is the only real designated money per se that we have for Virginia students. Now, when if you look back at the previous slide where we talked about different scholarship opportunities, there are the ones that you can find in Naviance, which is a great resource that every student in the county has access to. Whether you are a student or a parent, you have access to see that scholarship list in Naviance. A lot of the college and career specialists have either on their site, on their school website, if they have a Google site, just depends on how your college and career specialist communicates with you. I know for myself, I did a really quick video for parents and students to show them how to access that in Naviance. But looking at that local, state, and nationwide scholarships, you always want to start with those that are in your backyard. So if you are a part of a community group, if you're the parents are a part of a fraternity or sorority, a lodge, things of that nature, and even your churches, your volunteer opportunities, those are the ones you want to start with first. And always, I encourage students that it's never too early to start looking for scholarship opportunities. You know, there are scholarship opportunities out there for even some of our middle schoolers. So start applying for those scholarships, do those searches that we talk about, because those little small amounts, they eventually start to build up and can really be instrumental in helping you alleviate some of that cost when it comes to time for you to look at different colleges and universities. So we're going to move on and talk about military. So as we all know, we live in a highly military populated area. There are many different branches of the military. We have the Air Force, the Army, the Coast Guard, the Marines, the Navy, and the National Guard. Those are the major branches that are most visible to us. We also have service academies, which is the Air Force Academy, West Point Military Academy, the Naval Academy, the Coast Guard Academy, and also the Merchant Marines. There is also a program called ROTC, which is Reserve Officer Training Corps. So some of your students may be aware or may already be involved in what's called JROTC, which is Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps, which is available through some of our academies here in Fairfax County. So this is an opportunity for students who are interested in potentially pursuing a career in the military to kind of get a taste if that's something that they are interested in pursuing. So I know for my school, we don't have ROTC at my school, but students are able to take part in the academies that do. One is Air Force and one is Army. So our students do have the opportunity if they are interested in pursuing a career in the military. ROTC is conducted while a student is in college. You can participate in ROTC in college even if you are not interested in pursuing a military career. However, there is also a scholarship opportunity if you know that the military route is the route that you would like to go. There is a scholarship opportunity for students to participate. Now, ROTC, the process typically starts in the spring of your senior year, going into your junior, the end of your junior year, going into your senior year is typically when it starts. So we always encourage students to start looking at that process because there are some that require what's called a nomination for students to be able to obtain the ROTC scholarship. So we always tell students to make sure you are paying attention to those dates, keeping track of those dates, but most importantly that you're also looking to attend what we typically host in the springtime is our military nights. That's an opportunity for parents and students to go and talk to the different academies. You'll get to talk to our representative offices that move forward with the nomination process. You'll get to talk to such people like the Citadel and also Virginia Tech Corps of Cadets. So just an opportunity for you to kind of get a real good background of the different opportunities for students dealing with the military. Now, there is another route for the military for students to go, and that is straight enlistment. So a lot of our students tend to want to go into the military straight out of school. They want to just go ahead and start serving, which we think is awesome. So what that student would have to take is called the Asvab, which is the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test. So we just got word that we will be offering the Asvab region-wide. So one school in each region will be offering the Asvab. This year, however, it will only be open to seniors who are looking to enlist at the conclusion of their high school career. So it is a multiple choice test that's used to determine qualifications for enlistment in the U.S. Armed Forces. Each branch has their own requirement score in order for you to be eligible for that particular branch. So what we recommend is that you talk with the recruiters. And every school has a different recruiter. So the recruiter from my school may not be the same for the recruiter at Mrs. Shaw's school. So it's important that you touch base with your college and career specialist to find out who is the recruiter assigned to your school. So touching base with them to see what are the requirements. But there will be more information coming out about the ASVAB for this year. Soon, we literally just found out yesterday that the county was going to be moving forward with this initiative. So the date we have in mind is for March the 22nd. So again, be on the lookout for information coming from your college and career specialist for students to be, senior students to be able to take that ASVAB. Hopefully next year, depending on what school looks like, we will open the opportunity for juniors and seniors to take the exam again, because it is a test that is good for students who just are clueless about, what career they want to pursue. So it gives them some great opportunities to see some fields that they may be pretty good at advancing in. Again, we do have an online resource for the military for those who are interested in potentially taking the ASVAB, and we will post that link as well in the box.
Somebody asked the question, Tisa, is there a way to sign up for ROTC if you're going to college in the fall?
I would probably reach out. My best suggestion would be to reach out directly to that college or university that your child is interested in potentially going to see if it's too late for them to join or not. Every school is different. That's why it's sometimes it can be a little difficult for us, even as college and career specialists, to advise, because there's schools that are just so individualized and their processes are very individualized. So it's really going to be a lot of touching base directly with that particular college or university to see if they are still accepting students and cadets.
And if you're looking for ROTC scholarship money this fall for, your student trying for that right now is probably very slim, but
yes.
Students always have an opportunity when they are at their college to go and talk to the ROTC, the department, and ask them, if there's any scholarship, then they can sign up that way. It's never, no, they cannot, but if they're looking for ROTC scholarship money, then there's always a will at the college itself, but the student will have to go and actually talk to the ROTC department to find out how that is all taken care of again at their school.
Yes, I did see that Mrs. Shaw answered a little bit of Ms. Rosa's question about if there's anything planned for military night this spring. Unfortunately not. Typically, some schools partner and do it together. I know for my school, we usually do it in collaboration with Robinson and Lake Braddock, and us, because we're all in the same area and we typically have the same contacts. But, you know, due to COVID restrictions, we are unable to host it in person this year. So we were trying to get something done on a county level, but I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get that to happen this year or not.
That's right. Okay.
Someone asked what scholarships can be applied in grade 10. Layden, I would say check that Naviance list. One of the great things about Naviance now, they've really changed some of the infrastructure. And one of the great things that they've added is a filter where you can go in and look by your grade level for scholarships that are just applicable to your grade level. You can also look up specialized areas just for what you're interested in. So if you're interested in computer science, if you're interested in math, then you can do a search by that as well.
And how do you access, they said how to access Naviance. He says, yes, you can go to Blackboard, but there's a parent view as well, but talk to you, all students have it, which is link for parent. Parents have access to it. They can't do anything in it except look. Yes, and there's, thank you for putting up the FastWeb info.
Yeah.
More about scholarships by grade level. Wouldn't only seniors need to look at scholarships? No, Valerie, seniors don't always have to look at scholarships. I mean, I've had students in 11th grade win. I mean, I've had one who was a Carson winner. She won $1,000, and the organization keeps that scholarship until that student tells that organization where they are going to college. So if a student wins the money, they just happen to keep it for them until they are ready to move on, and that scholarship then is sent to the college itself in on behalf of that student. So yeah, so you can start looking now, like FastWeb, you know, Tisa mentioned Naviance. There's a way to filter for even 10th graders, even for 9th graders as well. FastWeb probably does the same thing. Like I put in the chat, FastWeb, you will have to create an account, and it'll ask you probably a host of questions, what your interests are, what you like, what subjects you like at school, and all sorts of things like that. So they can maybe sort of, you know, dial down to say, hey, this might be a scholarship for you. The other thing that I want to point out about scholarships is please do not give out your Social Security number. We tell that to students. I'm telling that to parents. A scholarship should not ask for that. The other thing is, if something is too good to be true, it usually is. You will find, even probably on FastWeb, they will offer, hey, $10,000, no essay required. And FastWeb is a national database, so you can probably see somebody will win that $10,000, but your odds of actually winning it, because it was basically, you know, no essay required. So a lot of students will be participating in that. I will tell you there are a lot of local scholarships here in the county, and a lot of high schools have their own scholarships as well. Like at my school, we have the Lewis alumni and friends. They give us a senior a scholarship. And it's only for our high school. And we also have but there are many, like we have the PTSA. So the student does have to be a member of the Parent Student Teacher Association. And then if they become a member, then they of course have the opportunity to apply for the scholarship. So again, it's just for our school. And I'm sure West Springfield has their own scholarships as well. So it's when those are only available for seniors. So if you're the military, we just got done talking about military. I can tell you on Naviance student, Fort Belvoir, the Navy, the Marine Corps just came out. They have their own scholarships, and many students are allowed to go ahead and do scholarships. Will COVID hurt chances for scholarships? No, I don't see that. Do you, Tisa? No.
No,
No.
I haven't seen any. I have not seen any students really getting hurt as far as scholarship opportunities due to COVID.
No. If a student has usually, I've seen scholarships that sometimes the topics overlap. If a student has, 2 or 3 really great scholarships in their back pocket, they can use them over and over again to as many scholarships that they fit the criteria to, and they can just tweak their essay. Just remember, scholarship A does not talk to scholarship B. So a student, I had a young lady last year, she had a great story to tell, and the young lady won a lot of money. She also got a lot of money from her school. The school that she's at is at Bryn Mawr, a private school. But she was very determined because she knew her situation, and the young lady ended up, one of her scholarships, which is phenomenal, and you would want to look for this, is something called a renewable scholarship. So it was a $4,000 renewable scholarship. So she won that. So she won $4,000 this year, and as long as she kept a 3.0 grade point average, she would get that $4,000 again from that particular organization that she applied for the scholarship to begin with. So that's huge. So that young lady won close to about $20,000 of free money because she was bound and determined, wrote an essay and used it, and over again and used it. So it was pretty cool. Do scholarship applications often ask if you applied elsewhere for funds and received them? Sometimes they do, but sometimes if a student hasn't won any scholarships, they can honestly put down that they haven't, but they will ask if you've received anything from your college per se, that you got, like, let's say, the Patriot Scholarship, from George Mason University. But sometimes they will ask that. But I can also tell you some local scholarships around here from many organizations, sometimes they don't get enough qualified applicants. I'm going to tell you, if your student feels going, well, I might not fit all the criteria, but I do for like 3/4 of that, should I still apply? The answer is yes, because you just never know. They might not have had, and I have seen that sometimes when scholarship organizations, sometimes they'll extend their deadlines as well, because they might not have received the number of scholarship applicants that they were hoping. So as Tisa just said, just keep applying, which is true.
For this, Gabriel, how do you find out more about local organizations and their scholarship programs? Again, a lot of that information is dispersed by your individual college and career specialist. Normally we have working relationships with those organizations that are repeat givers. I know for me, one of our repeat givers is the Rotary Club of the Springfield Rotary Club. So we know every year that they're going to offer this scholarship. So they connect with me. I collect the applications, they do the interviews, and they select the recipients of it. So a lot of it is fueled, and it's information that is distributed by your college and career center specialist. So again, it's important to read the newsletters that we're sending out to you guys. Wherever platform we're encouraging you to use, say like a Google page or a particular site that they say that their stuff is posted, please make sure you're checking that information often.
Yeah, space engineering, it's usually aerospace engineering. Okay, we are on this slide, jobs and gap year. Jobs. Well, job research newsletters, bulletin boards, Google Classroom, Schoology. And we put Snag a Job. I love snagajob.com. You can filter a lot in that as well. Newsletters. Each Career Center specialist does something different. We put newsletters out that has job information. We are fortunate that a lot of local companies, they will reach out to the Career Center specialists. Like this evening, I'm sure Tisa received it as well, or if it was yesterday, the Fairfax County Park Authority, they blanketed out to all Career Center specialists about that they are hiring. So we will go ahead and send that information out to our families. Bulletin boards. I still have a bulletin board, believe it or not. It's outside of my office. Some of us have bulletin boards, and again, we populate that with information that we receive from the community. Sometimes we do host companies to come into our schools, into the Career Center. Like one year I had Chick-fil-A and Domino's come to the Career Center because they were hiring. But again, every Career Center specialist, they usually have companies come in, or they don't. So we have newsletters that will go out, bulletin boards, and of course Google Classroom. I do have a Google Classroom for each of my grade levels. Some schools might have a Google Classroom for the student services, and everything's put into there. I am not a Schoology school. Tisa school is. So it's almost like, you know, I guess Blackboard. I'm not too sure. I'm not schooled on Schoology. Anyway, but Snag a Job is a great website for students. And again, you know, if this young person, I'm out and about at times in the community, and if I see hiring, I actually ask them, how old do you have to be? And that's another thing. Not many companies are hiring 14-year-olds. I don't think Green Spring, the retirement community that's up off the Parkway, is hiring right now because of COVID. Since I don't know at Tisa school at West Springfield, if West Springfield students get picked up by a shuttle from Green Springs, but my students did.
Typically,
when
yeah.
Do you?
In
okay, then.
days, yeah.
Yeah, non-COVID days, and the beauty, COVID's not going to be around forever. So any parent out there that has a younger student who might be in the 9th grade or 10th grade coming up, Green Spring is an excellent opportunity for 14-year-olds. They normally work in the dining service there pre-COVID. And the other thing is Green Springs offers a $10,000 scholarship, and it's $2,500 a year. That is a renewable scholarship for students who work. I think the student has to work 1,000 hours, but of course right now with COVID, that's not happening. But I just wanted to let parents know that that Green Springs does that, and many students who apply for the scholarship, and they go through an interview and they have to have the hours worked. Many Lewis students have won that $10,000 scholarship, and I'm sure as well at West Springfield. So that is just so you know, for scholarships. I know that was a couple slides back, but it's also a job, and I just got sidetracked with their scholarship information. Newsletters, again, I know not every Career Center specialist puts out a newsletter, but you know, a number of high schools do. So I think Tisa just put in Oakton's as well. So yes, she does. Gap year. A break in education between high school and post-secondary. Types of gap year experiences. There are educational ones, there are service ones, and of course there are travel ones. Right now with gap year, that will probably be an issue, but we are actually, the county is hosting a gap year fair, and we just pushed that out, and I'm sure you can probably, I don't know if Tisa can find the gap year link or not to put in the chat. If you can't, then I will. Okay, but yes, gap year is phenomenal. It allows a student to just basic like that. If they're not quite ready to go off to college, then they want to do something. There's a lot of organizations that have gap year, and that will allow you to do gap year. And a fair is a best place to actually go and find out about this, and the county is hosting one, and it is free to attend. So one of the questions that we had beforehand was, can you do gap year and, you know, apply to college? The answer is yes. Apply to the college first, and then ask permission later that you want to take a gap year, and most likely they will ask you what you plan on doing. We always advise our students, apply to the college. Like anything in our lives, things change. You know, you're saying that you're going to do a gap year, and then all of a sudden something might come up that you are, I think it's February 9th is the gap year fair. And it's virtual, of course. Students, we advise you to go ahead and apply first, and then if you find a gap year experience, then you ask permission to go ahead and do that. There are loads of ones like educational, service, and travel, and that depends on what you're interested in. It's like, what are your passions, and what do you want to get out of that year before you decide to go and spend money to go to college? So it allows a young person to grow and explore a different opportunity for them. And and gap years can be, yes, with these companies, but I've had students in the past do a job corps, you know, for a year or a year up type of things along the way. So before they go off to college. And so as we all know, I've heard, you know, a number of colleges or students in the European countries and the UK, they take a year off, you know, before they end up going to college. This year, a lot of students, you know, because of COVID, you know, are taking the year off to probably work. Some students do work. Then you can always apply. If you didn't apply to college while you were a senior and you decided because of the pandemic right now, it wasn't your cup of tea, then a lot of students do go to work, and you can always apply to college afterwards as well. The beauty of, you know, in high school is that you have the resources to help you, the Career Center specialist as well as the counselor. Please rely on your counselors as well. They are another great resource. They do help your young person choose those classes that are coming up. I know our school right now is soon be in pre-academic advising, where they're going to be choosing their classes for next year. So some students might not know what they might want to study in school, but in college, I mean, but they should be looking to see so they can work backwards to talk with their counselor. Remember, it's very important for your student to have an open dialogue with their counselor to express what their game plan is in anything. If it's a job, a gap year, going to a 4-year or to a 2-year college. Dialogue is very important. Anything else that you want to add there, Tisa?
No, just again, just piggyback off of what you're saying. I know one parent asked specifically, what's the difference between just taking a year off and the gap year? Is that the students that are, taking a year off, most of the gap year is that they've already been admitted to a college or university and they're deferring their admission. Those who are just taking a year off are just basically just taking a year off from school. Do they have the same scholarship opportunities if they take a gap year? Most, yes, because they're still considered a first-time freshman. That's if they're not doing the educational route, say, taking just a couple of community classes. Then depending on the college or university, they could be deemed as a transfer student. But most colleges and universities have a certain amount of hours that you have to have completed in order to be considered a transfer student. So again, the important piece is looking at that admissions information, that admissions page when you're looking at the freshman application compared to the transfer student application. But most of the students do have some of those same opportunities available to them because, again, if they're just taking a year off and just kind of chilling before they go to school, then yes, they are still going to be a first-time freshman, and there may still be opportunity for them to get those scholarship opportunities. I know one instance, I personally working with a student who was, they're members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they are required to do like a year of service before they go off to college. And this student was admitted to a school in Texas, and the student also had a ROTC scholarship. So the student was able to maintain the ROTC scholarship that they were awarded, but they eventually had to apply for readmission to the college because their year of service for the church was for 2 years opposed to just 1 year. If it was 1 year, it was fine, but because it was 2 years, they had to reapply, but they were still able to retain their ROTC scholarship. So again, it just really depends on the individual school. So it's very important when you're sitting down having these conversations with your children that they understand that you guys have to connect with the schools to find out what's going to be the potential repercussion or what is the grace they're going to give you if you are looking to take this time off from school to do a gap year experience.
That is true. I had one student a couple years ago. She applied to a college and won her scholarship, but she was actually going to be enlisting in the military, and she had to go to boot camp, and she was not able to start school at the normal time in August. So she was going to be starting college in January. So the scholarship was for the year, so she ended up only getting half of the scholarship starting in January. So things like that you can work things out with the college itself. If students don't have a green card, do they have to apply for a different admissions test? No. The admissions tests for schools are SAT, ACTs. Some schools might require you to take the TOEFL. That is if English is not your first language. And if some schools will go ahead and ask if you didn't get a certain score on the English portion on the SAT, some schools will go ahead and require you to take the TOEFL, especially if you answered a certain question on the college application. If, they might ask you if English is your first language or other languages or anything like that. Every school application is a bit different. So you might have to take that. The SAT and ACT a lot of schools are test optional, which means that's what it is. It's optional, means you can send it in if you want, and they will look at it. If you don't send it in, it won't be counted against you, but you will have to have usually a strong curriculum along with your letters of recommendation, along with any activities that you have done as well. So there are like a number of schools that are test optional, even in Virginia, like, you know, James Madison, VCU, George Mason, Christopher Newport. So just be aware of that. I think there's a, I think, isn't it called Fair Test? Tisa, Fair Test for?
Yes, it's fairtest.org. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. So yes, I heard the SAT is more essay heavy, where the ACT does not have the, oh no, the essay is now optional on both of those tests, Helen. So the student has the option to not even do the essay. And it also costs more money on the SAT and the ACT if you want to take the SAT and the essay. So keep that in mind as well. So yes. Some colleges want the essay on the SAT, right? Well, again, as I'm sure I would always say, you have to look on the school's website. They will tell you that information. And if they don't, then you should call the college themselves or talk to a college rep when they come to your high school or at one of the college fairs. So yes.
Yes, Nicole, to answer your question, some colleges do want the essay on the SAT. You'll see it more at some of the highly selective colleges and universities that are still looking for that. But again, because we're in the time of COVID, a lot of schools have shifted the way that they are looking at test scores. I've mentioned in the chat that there's a lot of schools that have moved to test optional or test choice. Some of them are calling it. So it really depends. Some schools are saying we will accept you without your test scores, but in order to qualify for scholarships, you still need to submit those scores. And some are saying we'll admit you and give you scholarship money without your test scores. And then some are saying, nope, we need your test scores to admit you and to give you scholarship money. So this is why, again, we always stress that you look at the individual schools, because there's no blueprint, unfortunately. With over 4,000 colleges and universities in the United States alone, it's no blueprint.
The other thing that I wanted to mention about something that's a little unusual that my son benefited from is something called the Academic Common Market. It is where there are 16 states in the Academic Common Market. If you Google Academic Common Market, I think it's called also Southern something another, but it is where a major is not offered at your public institutions in your state, but it's offered someplace else, and then you actually get in-state tuition. So I can attest to that because my son benefited from that, which was great. So it does change, as maybe we get like right now. I can tell you the major my son majored in is now offered in Virginia, but it wasn't when he graduated from high school at the time. So that is another avenue for you all to look at as well, and Tisa put that in there. Thank you. Now, I don't know if there's any definition of the Academic Common Market. She did, so click on the, it's just, I guess, the Academic Common Market. It's like I said, it's something else called Southern something another. Oh, my son majored in it was sports and entertainment management at the time. My son graduated a long time ago. So yeah, so he went to the University of South Carolina and studied that. It's a college that they have sports and entertainment management and hospitality and sports management. So they didn't have it at the time here.
So Sanaa had a good question, was asking what should be the criteria to shortlist colleges to apply for. So I mentioned in my response the super match option in Naviance.
Yes.
Yeah, and depending on your grade level, typically we start showing the students in 11th grade lessons of how to utilize this resource, because in the super match, students are able to be as specific or as vague in their search for looking at a college or university. So they have different components you can look at as far as academics, social, activities, resources, like is there opportunity for tutoring, career services, things of that nature. Do they accept AP credits and IB credits? Do they have ROTC programs, different clubs and organizations? Are they a D1, D2, D3 school? Do they have this particular sport? You can be that specific in your search in that super match. So in order, again, to access that, you have to go into Naviance. Again, you can connect with your individual college and career specialist, and they can give you instructions of how to access the super match in Naviance. Do you apply for college or universities even if you're taking a gap year? Yes, she answered
yes,
that.
I do. Samet, you said you want to study for IT and not a citizenship yet, and you haven't gotten your green card yet, and you're a junior. How can I get scholarships? Well, yes, you can still apply for scholarships, most definitely. You know, again, you have to read the criteria of the scholarship. If it doesn't mention anything about U.S. citizenship or, you know, green card, if you don't need any, then you're good to go. So most definitely. And if you obviously are a student in Fairfax County, we keep mentioning Naviance. Samet, are you familiar with Naviance? Student, because that is one area. But yes, okay, excellent. You can go into Naviance. It will allow you to filter for your grade. When you get into Naviance, there's actually two sections. They have it's new now. Isn't it, Tisa? They have one for the colleges themselves, scholarships, but then they have local and regional scholarships as well.
Yes,
so,
yes,
yeah, so I think it defaults to the school one, so you'll have to make sure you see the regional and local scholarships. So you can go ahead and apply. So there's a way to filter, most definitely, Samet. Ask your college and career specialist to help you do that. They'll be more than happy to help you find that. Please help me understand in a one phrase, what is Naviance? Oh, Naviance student. Oh, that's what it's called. Yeah. What is Naviance to a parent or child? Don, please, one phrase. Naviance student is the database that the county has, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a comprehensive K through 12 college and career readiness solution. So every student in Fairfax County Public School and their parents, again, they have access to Naviance. So there's different assessments that students can take in Naviance to help them narrow down a particular field of interest that they may have. They can look at the colleges and universities in there. That information is powered through Naviance from the particular college or university. So they can go in and say, type in a college name, they can type in George Mason University, and it's going to take them to the information George Mason has given Naviance as far as the cost of attendance. And then it's got some specialized data for each college, for each individual high school. So say if a student is trying to decide whether or not they want to apply to George Mason University, they can type in James Madison University. I just combined the two schools, James Madison University, and they can look at what's called the Scattergram. And that Scattergram will show them the data of the students from that particular high school that has applied to JMU over the course of, I think it's 10 years. It's either 7 or 10 years worth of data. How we collect that data is at the end of every senior year, we conduct what's called the senior survey. Now, some colleges and universities, they will send us lists of the decisions for their particular college or university. The other information we collect from the students, the seniors, during the senior survey. And so we collect whether they were accepted, denied, or waitlisted in that information. And so a student can go and look at that scattergram and pinpoint their self on there and see if they fall within a parameter of likely being admitted or not. Again, it is not in guarantee whether they are going, if they look at that scattergram and say, okay, if I have a 4.3 and I have a 1600 on the SAT, I'm definitely getting in. No, it's not saying that. It's just saying over the course of this time period, for students who have applied from this particular high school, have been admitted to this college or university that fell within this parameter. Again, no guarantee, but gives you an idea whether or not that's going to be a good choice for you to apply to that school or not. Again, there's different opportunities for you to take as far as career assessment tests, interest profilers, all of this stuff. And this isn't something new that just the college and career specialists go through. These are lessons that are given in classes during learning seminars. So each grade level, starting at least in your 9th grade year, it builds upon each other every single year. And so by the time you're a senior, you shouldn't be just clueless of what your next step should be, because every single year they're building on these lessons to help you prepare for whatever your next steps are going to be after high school.
Carla and Tisa, could I just jump in for a second? It's Mary Beth. I know we have probably some families out there who are interested in hearing just some examples and maybe some paths with regard to non-college options. Could you provide maybe just some more information with regard to, things that you are doing in the college and career centers to support students who might be looking for non-college options?
We just had, I don't know exactly what non-college options. I know we presented a little bit about apprenticeships and gave a couple websites to look at. I just put in something called Year Up. There are Job Corps as well. Those are different options out of high school if you're not going directly into college or anything like that. If your student is looking for certifications, Northern Virginia Community College has that. They have workforce certifications. It might be at the community college, but that's the beauty of the community college. It's not necessarily going for an associate's degree at the community college. NOVA has great resources for students who are looking just for certifications in something. Also, the other thing is a lot of, if it's heating and air conditioning, and also, HVAC and plumbing, the county does have, ACE, which has a lot of different, again, opportunities or careers that a student can actually start, you know, taking these classes. You do have to, as Tisa said earlier, I mean, to be, you know, HVAC or plumbing or, you know, even brick masonry, taking classes like that will help you a lot farther. I mean, you don't have to actually necessarily go to college per se. The Virginia Department of Transportation, I wish we have taken students in the past. I know I have, I think Tisa has as well, to the Virginia Department of Transportation, had a career fair, and they hire as well for, you know, surveyors, truck drivers. Of course, you'll need a CDL license, a commercial driver's license, to drive any of their trucks. A lot of things would be I would end up going out on the website for looking at the Virginia Department of Transportation. There's a lot of entry-level entry-level positions that a student can you know, try to apply for. But you do need at least a high school education. You cannot apply for those jobs without at least a high school education. So we try to tell students to stay in school. But yes, I was trying to look on my Google Classroom here in regards to other things that I happen to have out there. But yes, Tisa, is there anything that, as you know, I know we also mentioned military. That's a different way. You get a great score in the Asvab.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you've pretty much hit on everything. And this is definitely the time frame of when parents and students really need to be having those conversations, because as Ms. Shaw mentioned earlier, a lot of schools are gearing up to get ready for course selection for the next academic school year. So this is the time, if students are like undecided of what they're wanting to do, again, that you have the resource of Naviance for taking these different assessments that are available in there to help them kind of figure out some career paths for them. And then that's going to help them shape and figure out what classes and what courses they should be directed and taking over the next couple of years, or however long they have left in their high school matriculation. But she pretty much touched base on everything that was available as far as those non-collegiate options for after school. And then, of course, there's just flat out working. You know, we do help students find jobs. And that's fine if they have to go straight into the workforce, because we recognize that a good number of our students, they are a major part of income source to their families, and they have to work, and they're not able to go to college right away. And we understand that, so we help them find jobs as well that's going to be sustainable for them, and even those who may be willing to work with them if they are looking to go to college later on in a year or two after they've started working. So those are the opportunities that are available to those who are not looking to go right into college after high school. But we always stress, no matter what you do, be educated in it. So if you're going to be an apprentice, make sure you're taking all the courses that are going to be good for you as an apprentice. If it's electronics, if it's HVAC, whatever it is, you know, just be the best in that. Take those courses that are applicable to that, you know, become a master at some point in time, and then you'll be able to demand top dollar, because Lord knows you won't find me on a roof. You won't find me messing with the hot water heater at any point in time. So just be the best in whatever you decide to do.
The other thing is if your student is not yet, you know, a senior or whatever, you just to let parents know, if you happen to have a younger student in high school, we have wonderful academies in Fairfax County. I think there are 5 academies throughout the county where, you know, you have medical assistant, animal science, auto body collision, HVAC, you know, you name it, culinary. Those are all great apprenticeship, you know, pathways, but you get the feel and the taste for it while you are in high school and didn't have to pay the price for it. You know, if you end up going to Nova or to some apprenticeships, you do have to, you know, pay for. But yeah, so take advantage of the, if you find that you're not wanting to go on to college, reach out and talk with your counselor in regards to how do you go about attending one of the academies here in the county as well. So definitely.
Carla and Tisa, there are a few questions throughout the chat with regard to SATs and ACTs and scheduling this year and what might that look like because of COVID. And do you all have at least some information for families with regard to if they're interested in and they're having their son or daughter sign up for SATs or ACTs? Kind of what's it looking like right now in the COVID environment?
I know Lewis is a hosting school. You know.
Yeah, I know Annandale is a host school as well. I mean, but you know, there are some schools in the county that just are not host sites. Like West Springfield is not a host site. I know Robinson is a host site. Lewis is a host site. Annandale is a host site. It just depends. I do know that there were some limitations that were put in place because of COVID. There was an opportunity back in the fall where all seniors in Fairfax County Public Schools were able to take the SAT for free. Whether or not FCPS is going to have that opportunity in the fall or not, we do not know. But I do know that there are some restrictions that have been put in place due to COVID. For testing sites, they're not going to be able to test as many students due to COVID. And that's just where we are right now with that. So I would say, and not to, you know, make anybody rush or anything, I would say the sooner the better if you know that you're planning to take the test, to go ahead and pre-register for the test now. Registration is open for any time that you want to take the exam for the March, May, or June exam now. So you can go ahead and apply and register now if you want to take the exam. So that way you're not waiting to the last minute and potentially missing out on the opportunity to take the exam.
10th graders, Santa, 10th graders can register for SATs, ACTs. It's not advised.
Highly not advised.
No, not advised, most definitely. So wait until your spring of your junior year to actually do that. SATs are given in the morning time. They're not given after school. If somebody's asking in regards to about how much school involves in preparation, of students with SAT or ACT tests, do school hold any preparation classes? My school does not hold any preparation classes. I know in the past, some schools did host because they worked through Princeton Review or whatever, but I will tell you on the College Board website, Khan Academy is an organization that is actually working with College Board, and Khan, Khan Academy, is an excellent resource and it's free, of helping students with that SAT and AC, prepping for that SAT and ACT. You can reach out to your college and career specialist. I know we usually keep a list of companies that do help with prepping for the SATs and ACT. They do cost money. We do not endorse them. None of our schools do, or the county. We just happen to have, a list of organizations that actually will do prepping. So, but try Khan Academy first. your student, look that up. It's on College Board. Where in College Board is, I'm going to tell you, SAT and ACT are two different tests run by two different companies. So you cannot register for the ACT on College Board. So keep that in mind as well. So, yes.
So
I just,
I
and
know
again,
one student that asked if she was taking IB classes, should she still take it in the spring? Again, it's whenever you feel most comfortable taking it. We just know in our professional careers, we've mostly seen students taking the test in the latter part of their junior year. Most of them we see either in March or June. I think more June heavy because it's the end of the testing season. Because I did mention earlier in the chat, typically in May you have SOL testing, you have AP exams that are being administered. Some classes are giving final exams. Again, I don't know if FCPS is going to give final exams this year or not. That'll be coming out from your schools and from the county. But most juniors we see taking the SAT their junior year is either in March, May, if they want to take it in May, in June, because the next available time for them to take the exam would be in August. So that's why we see more in June, because there's less of a time gap that they would have taken the test, so that way they don't lose the familiarity of taking the exam.
One person asked about, I was writing it down here, about the PSAT. It's given to the 9th, 10th, and 11th graders during the school day, and it's usually in October. But this year, because of COVID, it was only given to the 11th graders, the PSAT,
right,
during school
also,
day, because social distancing and all that.
Well, also, Carla, FCPS stopped administering to 9th graders last year. So it's only administered CPS to the 10th and 11th graders now.
There you go. Yes. The in-person, the SAT test this year. All the SAT tests are in person. Will be in person, the SAT test this year. They are in person. The students do go to the high schools to take the test on a Saturday. And it's in person, but it is, you know, social distance, and only so many students can take the test. PSAT is only offered in the fall, and it's in October.
Yes, because it is a nationwide test. It's given on the same day everywhere across the nation.
What resources are available for students trying to determine what they want to major in? Determine what students want to, one of the resources, is there a resource? Well, I'm going to say Naviance student does a pretty good job of, you know, trying to determine maybe what might interest a young person to maybe point them in a direction of what to major in. But, you know, if a student likes, you know, writing, and then likes biology, and likes, you know, many numerous things, we try to talk to a young person and ask them maybe what did they enjoy doing when they were younger. Seek out, you know, if they want to be a, let's say, a social worker, seek out the school social worker and talk with them to see how they came about into their profession. But Naviance student and College Board also has a resource to find, you know, for students to use to determine maybe what they should major in. But it's usually, what do you enjoy doing? What classes are you that interest and excite you? Those things all come into play when maybe deciding a major. I know some of my students saying, well, I want to be this because of the money. Well, you know, you also want to hopefully do something that you might enjoy along the way and maybe make some money. But yeah, so check out, again, Naviance student. There is what they have. There's some assessment tests in there for your student to take. If your student is usually in the, I know at our school, they have met with their counselors in the past, and They have done an assessment. There's a career cluster finder. School. What else is the other one? I can't think of off the top of my head. Tisa.
The career
I'm sorry.
interest profile.
Yes,
Career
the
interest
career.
profiler.
Yes. Those are on Naviance students, so those will allow you to explore some interest as well.
Yes. And when you go into Naviance, you just click on the careers tab on the right-hand side, and then click on Explore Careers and Interests, and you'll find the profilers.
Correct. There was also, I was going to try to put into the link I had, Explore Occupations. If anybody, this is a great website. Somebody had in one of our insight about it's occupations, learn about in-demand jobs and stuff like that. Let me go ahead and put this in. Workforce research, explore occupations. So this is something that your student or you might want to look at.
Nicole, to answer your question, is there guidance in person individually from career centers to help kids pick their major? What we do is we basically try to help those kids hone in on those areas that they're the strongest in, to help them narrow down some particular fields of study that will be beneficial for them as far as their major is concerned. But again, we always stress this is a conversation that students have to have in conjunction with their parents as well, because we understand that higher education is a huge investment, and we want to help them and you all as a family try to make that best decision. But ultimately, it is going to come down to you guys to make that final decision what you're going to do. But we do try to help the students figure out a career path for themselves and give them options of how to move forward with that career path.
Okay, Tisa and Carla, thank you so very much for all this information this evening. It is 8 o'clock, and so we want to make sure that we honor everyone's time. And want to thank you both for all this great information. And again, I would just recommend to all our families who are still here with us that please do contact your college and career specialist at your individual schools. They are as wonderful as Tisa and Carla are, and will be able to answer some of the specific questions with regard to the school that your child attends, and certainly the information and resources that are available to them at the college and career centers at your schools. So Carla and Tisa, thank you again. We really appreciate your time, and thank you all for attending this evening.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys for having us. Thank you guys for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. And again, we're here to help as much as we can.